Hello everyone, welcome back to another video from Shomo's Biology. In this particular lecture, we are going to talk about diphtheria toxin mode of action or mechanism of action of diphtheria toxin. So I'll take a color for you and let's start explaining. Before understanding the mode of action of diphtheria toxin, you must know what exotoxins are, right? If you don't know what exotoxins are, please watch my lecture on exotoxins in details. Now, exotoxins are by definition bipartite in nature and they have two separate units, B unit and A unit. The B unit helps this exotoxin to attach to the host cell surface and A unit helps them to act the particular response or provide the particular response. This bipartite feature, both this A and B part are made with mainly proteins in case of exotoxins. The example of diphtheria toxin is no different. This is also similar kind of exotoxin. It is bipartite in nature. It has two units, B and A units, and they are made with proteins, and these are known as cytotoxins because this diphtheria toxin can direct and attack any kind of cell, any somatic cell of our body, and can kill that cell. That's why they are cytotoxic in nature. They are targeting any cell of the body and they can kill it by preventing protein synthesis. By preventing protein synthesis. So I write protein synthesis inhibition. Okay. This is very simple idea about a diphtheria toxin. Now I am going to tell you how exactly this toxin works and what are the constituent of it. Now remember, this toxin has two units, B and A unit. Okay, and the B unit is very specific to attach to the surface of the host cell. And let's imagine this is our host cell and this is the surface and this is a particular receptor where the diphtheria toxin will bind. The name of the receptor here is heparin binding epidermal growth factor receptor. Heparin binding epidermal growth factor receptor is the receptor to which the B subunit of the diphtheria toxin binds. And here comes the diphtheria toxins with the B subunit and this is with the A subunit. So this diphtheria toxin binds to the receptor on the surface of the cell. Then it has internalization. Okay. This will look something like this, B, and of course A, like this. So this is internalization. After the internalization stage, so the very first step, remember, is the binding. Second step is internalization. Step number 3 is fusion of endosome, or basically here either the endosomes, the existing one, will fuse with this vesicle, or they'll recruit the proton pumps that will increase the acidity. Higher acidity means lower pH inside the vesicle. Lower pH inside the vesicle will cause the separation of B subunit from A subunit. So this is very important step. Remember, step number 3. And the step 3 means release of B subunit from A subunit. And basically the B subunit after the release is no longer needed, so it's degraded, but the A subunit is required. And what this A subunit will do is going to impact the host cell. This A subunit here, in case of diphtheria toxin, what is the role of this A subunit? This subunit is going to prevent the protein synthesis. And we know in eukaryotic cell, the protein synthesis process, there are initiation factors, elongation factors, termination, release factors are involved in the protein synthesis. So such one factor is elongation factor 2. And elongation factor 2 is very important for the elongation of protein synthesis, means stitching of the amino acid sequences to make polypeptide sequence. And what this A subunit of the diphtheria toxin do is basically there is NAD plus inside the cell. So from NAD plus it transfers ADP ribose. ADP ribose component from NAD plus is transferred to this EF2. So ADP ribosylation of EF2 is done by whom? By the active or A subunit of the diphtheria toxin. Transfer ADP ribose group from NAD plus to E2F, and the moment E2F is ADP ribosylated, then this E2F is no longer functional. This is no longer functional, and as E2F is non-functional, there is no protein synthesis elongation. The elongation is halted. Elongation halted. And not only elongation is halted, the further production of the polypeptide chain is also prevented. In that way, it's going to end the process of protein synthesis. And as it will end the protein synthesis, no further protein production is done. And due to lack of protein, the cell will die. The cell will ultimately die. And this thing happens in our throat. Cells start dying, so dead cells, and the immune system components will rush in there. Inflammatory response is going on that causes the formation of a protective layer, like a cover, and this cover is like a membrane layer in our throat, in our respiratory tract. As a result, people infected with diphtheria toxin fail to take oxygen and release CO2, and as a result, that person may die. This is what happens with diphtheria toxin. And if this toxin somehow really reaches our bloodstream, it can cause cardiomyopathy, it can cause neuropathy. These are the impacts of diphtheria toxin in our body. I believe you have a clear idea about how diphtheria toxin works with their stages and sequences. The final stage was the activation stage here, stage number 4. From binding, internalization, dissociation of A subunit from B, then activation. And that way the process of diphtheria toxin completes. If you like this video, please hit the like button, share this video with your friends, subscribe to this channel to get more videos like that in future. And also watch the other lecture regarding the exotoxins, endotoxins and mode of action of other exotoxins. Thank you.